Meeting of March 28th Board of Island Managers is now in session.
Sunshine Law announcement. Notice of this meeting has been published in the Burlington County Times and in public notices posted at Burlington City Hall, 525 High Street, and at the Keegan Recreational Center, 522 Wood Street, Burlington, New Jersey, as required by law.
Could everybody please stand? Before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I think we should do the moment of silence first. Last week, early in the week, I believe it was Monday, a longtime Board of Island manager passed away. She was also a prior president, Stella Hatala. Her managers, Abate, myself, Manager Sunstein, those former manager, Mike Zalot, those that have worked with Stella for years, knew her passion for the island. Stella was always a voice of reason for this board, and she was sadly missed. She left here only because of her health. So, she passed away last Monday, and I would like everybody now to bow their head for a moment of silence. Amen. Could we now pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Lord God, we thank you for this opportunity to serve the citizens of this city, Father. We ask you for guidance and wisdom as we perform our duties. While praying, Heavenly Father, we also ask you for safety and health for our troops and also for our country, Lord, all the problems that we have. It's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
roll call, please?
Manager Abate?
Here.
Manager Caruso?
Here.
Manager Cipriano?
Here.
Manager Nafrava is present. Manager Sunstein?
Here.
And Manager Worth will be here shortly.
Motion to set adjournment time, please.
Manager Crusoe, I'd like to set the adjournment time for 10 o'clock. If we adjourn earlier, so be it, but in case we have to extend some time.
I'll second that motion.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn at 10. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 10 o'clock it is. Minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review their minutes?
Motion to accept.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to accept the February 28th minutes. On the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Treasurer's report. Mary Ann, would you like to go over this?
All right, the money market account beginning balance was $2,681.25. There was a 10-cent interest credit for a total of $2,681.35. The checking account beginning balance $205.46. Nothing in, nothing out. Ending balance $205.46. Savings account, scholarship fund savings account, beginning balance $21.53. Nothing in, nothing out. Ending balance $21.53. The Woolman Fund saving account, beginning balance $37.89. Again, no activity. Ending balance $37.89.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the financial report for February 28th. On the question? Manager Abate.
I would just like to take a moment and compliment Mary Ann on the reports that she has given during her time that she has served here. You're welcome. I think they helped us understand things a lot more clearly, and 99% of the time, if not 100, when questioned, you had the answer right there, and you knew where to get the answers that we needed. So I just wanted to take a moment and thank you for all of your efforts you did as serving as the treasurer of the Board of Line Managers.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving right along. We're going to skip the letter from Doan for this, just for briefly. We're going to skip over that. Is there any other correspondence?
Yes. Mary Ann just gave this to me. We have the most current governmental unit deposit protection act from the bank, which is just standard. And then we have, it looks like, a copy of the bill from the lawyer. There is a bill for $1,230 for Woolman. And then there is another bill that is ours for $153
Which
from
the-
January and February.
The 100, and I think it was,
136, the
that's
previous
been paid,
balance.
so your balance is $17.
Oh, so we only owe it 7.
Yes,
Yeah.
and Woolman still has a balance of $1,230 that they have not paid. And then we have an invoice from the Times, which should be for advertisement for the election.
That is actually another invoice that was not ours.
Is that city
That's
invoice
same
still?
one that won't go away. I think it's the city.
Mr. President, I believe the last meeting that was to be sent to the city.
I think Mary has made calls. If Mary shows up before the end of the meeting, we'll find out about that. I know that's been going on for what, 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, I know she had stated at a previous meeting it was taken care of, but apparently they billed us again error. Looks like for one Sunday full ad for a cost of $6.38. And the publication date was November 4th, which we wouldn't have published
So the
anything
only,
in the newspaper at
the
that
only
time.
real bill before us is the $17 north. Does anybody want to see this? From Ron, this is Ron's.
Mr. President, on the bill for $1,230 to Woolman, has that been sent to them?
I believe it's been sent a couple times. This is just a copy.
They were actually, I believe it was 2 meetings ago, they were actually given a copy when they were here. Mary Ann had brought a
Yeah,
copy
this
to
isn't
them,
a
if
broke down
I'm
bill.
not
This
mistaken.
is just a balance forward.
Okay.
No, there's not a breakdown on this. So this is a previous bill. And I do believe that President Worth did give them a copy. There is one other piece of correspondence that Mary forgot to give me. Upon Stella's passing, Mary and I talked, and the board, on behalf of the board, we sent a basket. I told her to get the least expensive basket, which I thought would be $50, $60. It was over 100. We can handle this one of 2 ways. Mary's suggestion was, 1, 2, 3, 4, between 6 of us, if we split the bill at $17 a piece, $16 and change, rather than put it before the board, we're broke anyway. I have no problem with that.
I make a motion to support that.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, there's been a motion made and seconded that the flowers that were sent on behalf of the board for Stella Adela be paid for by each board member. It was 16 and change a piece, so we'll give Mary 17 a piece. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, very good. That's nice. Now, we need a motion to pay Ron's bill. $17.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded to pay Ron's $17 bill. There's no other bills?
Not at this time. I would like to, because the election is Monday, and we have to write the checks for the election workers, I would like to ask that we have a vote to transfer $500, there will be other bills coming in, $500 into the checking account.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Well, wait a minute. We still have a motion on the floor to pay the $17.
Oh, sorry
Do
about
we want to include to pay the election workers in the same motion?
Sure, why not?
Yes.
Who made the motion originally? Tony, you need to amend your motion.
All right, well, I'll
Amend your motion
I'll amend the motion to
to include
include the
the,
$500 to pay the,
No, to include paying the election workers.
All right, we're gonna need a second motion, just so you know, to transfer the funds.
Right, correct. Mary, you amend your second?
Motion to transfer funds.
Mary, not until this motion, or you
Oh, I'm
made the
second.
second, you
Okay, I
gotta
second it.
amend your second.
I second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded, amended and seconded to pay Ron's bill and also the 3 election workers. On the question. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, now we can make motions.
And I make a motion to transfer $500 into the checking.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to transfer 500 from the money market into the checking. On the question.
On the question, Mr. President, then would it be appropriate, perhaps Mary Ann could answer this question, if the balance was $2681.35, just take $500 from that?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Public portion. Any member of the public wishing to speak, stand up, state your name and address.
Jamie Zaylot, 506 Locust Avenue. First, my dad and I would like to make a $50 contribution for a scholarship in memory of Stella Hatawa, since the board does not have enough money for scholarships this year.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, will you contact Helen, because usually what we do with the scholarship, the person who it's in memory of usually sets up the way they want it dispersed.
No problem.
Okay. And just keep us posted on that. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Also, we'd like to present this letter to the board. Each of us is presenting a letter to the board in regards to the election.
You gotta tell them what it is.
For the record, we're both going to stand as challengers for the election, and we're raising objections to the election workers. I know it's too late to change the election workers, but we'd like to have it on record that we do object. Thank you.
Mr. President, if I may, to add to that comment.
Which comment? Because we're gonna talk about the challenging.
The challenges.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna talk about it.
We're gonna talk about it.
The understanding is that only candidates can be challengers. So you two plus Nick would be the only challengers allowed.
Okay.
Any other member of the public?
Mike Zaylot, 506 Locust Avenue, Burlington. I'm going to sit if it's okay. First of all, I wanted to let the board know that last night Karen's mother passed away, Karen Robbins. Her mother had been ill and she took a turn for the worse. About 2 o'clock she passed away, so I don't think that Karen will be here. I didn't see her here. I have something to present to the board that I found. I wasn't looking for it particularly, but it came up, and I believe it's of complete and total relevance to what may be coming later in the evening. In the contract between the city and the Board of Island Managers on page 20, number 23, there is a clause called the force majeure. I think that's the way you pronounce it. It's a French word. And what it says that if there's any interference by governmental authorities, by acts of God, other things that would prevent either the leaser or the developer or the board from completing their tasks, that the contract between the city and the Board of Island Managers would be extended for the amount of time that it was a delay. Undoubtedly, the mayor's issue in May or June of last year prohibiting people from going to the island stopped, for example, the Woolman Corporation from being able to survey or to make plans or to look over the island. Also, and this is by your contract, I'm sure you guys have this, it's the one you signed with the city. This would extend the board's lease with the city for at least 8 months. That means that the Board of Island Managers still has a contract with Burlington City for at least 8 months, or the amount of time after which the mayor allows people to go onto the island. How is this significant? This is significant because I believe, and it's been a long time since I looked at it in total, that the Woman Corporation was allowed to present up to the end of their time, which was the end of the contract, actually January 8th, a presentation which, if accepted by the planning board, would extend a 5-year lease for the island board. So this affects both you and Woolman. So this is something that I really would hope that you would take time to look in, and it's in the thing. Wasn't looking for it, I found it.
Mike, that's in the lease that we negotiated with the city?
Mr. President,
Yeah.
I have a copy of it, and I could just read it real quick.
Yeah.
In the event that the leaseor, leasee, or the proposer to be named shall be delayed, hindered in, or prevented from performance of any act required hereunder by reason of strikes, lockouts, labor troubles, inability to procure materials, failure of power, delay in compliance with governmental laws or regulations, riots, terrorism, insurrection, war, and here's where it gets kind of tricky, or other reason beyond their control, then performance of such act shall be excused for the period of the delay, and the period for the performance of any such act shall be extended for a period equivalent to the period of such delay. And that's in our lease agreement. It's signed by the city and the board. And, you know, basically, if you get down to it, if there's something that happens that's beyond their control, then in fact the amount of time that it was stopped gets extended.
Which may help us, it won't help them because they never became a party to this lease.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I think we'll have to have a legal opinion on this.
Well,
Because it does name all three, leaseor, leasee, or proposer. We were the leasee, correct? From the city.
The city was the lessor.
The city was the
Yes.
lessor, we were the lessee.
yes.
So we signed it. We
Yes.
would have to have, I guess, legal clearance. We'll talk about this because maybe we,
Well, I had asked to put pro bono attorney on the agenda tonight, and there's an example of, just reaching out.
Could you repeat that, Joe? The first part.
I said I had asked to have a pro bono attorney issue on the agenda tonight, and, there is a reason if you had someone available at no cost to the board, you could get that kind of answer, they would review the lease and give you the answer.
is that all right?
Before they leave, I'd like to publicly express my thanks to Mr. Cipriano and Mr. Bate for their time on the board. They did very good jobs, and they should be commended on that. And thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Any other member of the public wish to speak?
Yes, sir. I'm Bob Hasty. I'm from 18 Hazel Avenue, Bristol, right across the way. And I'd also like to extend the same remarks to Mr. Cipriano and Mr. Abate. And all you fellows that have been around for 30 years or so. It's a thankless job. But before the new regimes or the turnovers take place, or can you guys hear me? Okay. Before all this takes place, I really, really, really would like to get an elephant out of the room if I could, because I would hope that this board still has an opportunity to live up to their 330-year charter. The big elephant in the room. Mr. Sunstein, with all due respect, sir, because you've been here for so long.
No problem.
No, it's not a problem, actually, because I do believe that that at least your heart has been with the island.
And I appreciate the respect. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. But Mr. Sunstein, for the last 6, 7, 8 months, on numerous occasions, with several different members of the press, several different newspapers, in fact, and this thing is usually videotaped, on at least 3 videotapes that the young lady usually does here for the board. Sir, you have been quite adamant in your attitude as far as Fidelis. And Fidelis is an elephant. Help me here, Sonny. Help me, Murray, because I can't have you that much in the blind.
No, Fidelis is over a year ago, and that situation is no longer that I know of.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, now it's just over a year ago.
Well, I can give you the letter that Mike gave us last time.
Okay.
This is more than a year ago. Fidelis is no longer involved in the U.S. pipe situation.
I believe that.
Well, it's fact.
No, I absolutely do believe that. If for no other reason than there have been folks that spoke with Fidelis, in fact, the CEO of Fidelis. My problem, sir, is that the last 6 months, Sonny, I'm being honest with you here, pal. For the last 6, 7, 8 months, you've denied Fidelis even in existence. And in fact,
to the board.
let's just go to. Boy,
What we
my
can't have
eyes
here-
are bad.
What we can't have here is a conversation between a manager.
Okay, so all right.
You can.
No, okay, I'm really being courteous with the manager,
right.
and you know.
You could speak to him after the meeting on that.
Ah,
Anything that.
I'd like to have met Sonny under a lot of different circumstances, trust me, man, because I know we could definitely get along. But, and yeah, we could still get along. But this particular article, and we're in Bristol, but we're right across the street, and we got to look at that island. I grew up there as a kid. I know that island well. This particular article comes out on January 14th of this year. It's not the last time Mr. Sunstein's made the statement, but here's the statement, and because the president isn't here right now, I'll leave the president's name out of this. But when told about this Fidelis coming around and offering $1 million for a 10-year lease and yada, 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 Mr. Sunstein and the president said, wow, that doesn't seem like a whole lot of money. And it also, there's no such deal. Mr. Sunstein, and this is in quotes, that's a story that surfaces every few years. It's totally false. That exact quote you have made several times to the newspaper and several times right here on video. Now, Mr. Sunstein, when you were given, and again, I'm speaking to the board, I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Yes.
You've made those statements too many times. Now, when you were given, in fact, the proposal from this particular developer, maybe it rattled your head and said, well, geez, it wasn't 4 or 5 years ago, and it wasn't. The thing is, Fidelis exists, and they're not a rumor that surfaces every 4 or 5 years. They showed up in 2011, exactly May 23rd of 2011, 7 months after the current.
Cut through all this?
Well, sure, I'll cut through it. Listen, you can hear it now. Listen, you can hear this now, which I wish you would listen.
Are you in control of this meeting or am I? Because I can have you removed if you're going to be combative. Former President Cipriano and myself attended a meeting right in that room over there with Fidelis.
Okay.
So this board is aware of Fidelis. You cannot come here and pick one.
What I'm saying is Mr. Sunstein said that he wasn't even aware of Fidelis.
Well, Mr. Sunstein may have misspoke.
6 times.
I'm not sure. I'm not aware of that. But what I'm going to tell you is you can't address him directly like that in a public meeting. If you have a comment.
I'm addressing the board.
If you're not addressing the board, you're mentioning his name and you're singling him out. You can change.
My apologies.
You can change what you're talking about or you're done speaking. It's that simple.
No, wait a minute. I'm not done speaking.
You're done speaking. If I bang this gavel, you're done speaking, sir. It's that simple. I just told you the ground rules. In a public meeting, you cannot address a member of a public body, whether it be Manager Sunstein, Manager Cipriano, Manager B. You cannot do that. That's not the way it goes here. If you have something creative you would like to bring up,
I have something creative I'd like to bring up.
then speak.
Thank you, sir. Article of January 17th. Again, on the Bristol side, I wish you guys would change newspapers here. Board conflicts torpedo the Colorado company into dredging operations with yada yada. Environmental risk management company wanted to purchase the site, put some spoils over on the aisle for a while. It says the company would have paid $1 million to split between the city and the managers for this thing. The bottom line is here, it says after negotiation, after, keyword, months of negotiations, not one meeting, months of negotiations, Fidelis walked away because of what CEO Ken Elliott called infighting amongst the board managers. In quote, we had talks with the city, with the state, with the Army Corps of Engineers, and with the island managers. Our board would have been a win-win. Even Mr. Ballard noted that it would have been a key resolution for the dredging controversy we obviously have here. Mr. Ballard, of course, is with the city. My problem is this, all of this took place over months and months of woman's time of trying to do something for that island. And nobody up here had the heart, I don't want to say the bar, nobody up here had the heart to go to any of these people and say, hey, look, there is another thing coming up. We might be able to, and just in case you guys fall out, we're just letting you know that there might be something else in there. That's all.
President, could I address that real
But to
quick?
play all this,
Manager B.
If I can, one of the reasons
That's false.
that never came about is because we never had the meetings.
Exactly. Thank you.
So,
Continue.
with all due respect to the newspaper columnists and what have you, that might have been perceived on the city side where those meetings took place, because there's a long history of meetings taking place on the city side without this board knowing about it. A long history, where there's communications that come from the state that are not shared with us.
Correct.
So there is a definite disconnect. This board has made efforts to try to put that connection together, but in order to do that, you have to have two people who want to listen. So if I can, regarding those meetings and why no one went to the Woolman group, I've always been a cheerleader for them, and should something like that would have happened, you can rest assured that I would have brought that up at a meeting. So I think you're right, and I think the board's right. You're right in that the reporter indicates there were meetings, but those meetings, 99% of the time probably, were with another entity other than this board. I remember Mr. Fidelis, and I'm going to look to my other fellow managers to help me. There was a gentleman that came here with a grandiose plan of something that was going to happen with magical dredge spoils that could be used, and they had a value to them. And he also proposed a remediation location at the
U.S. Pipe
Pipe Factory. And we were searching for answers on the dredge spoils at that time.
and that I understand.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I would think that the board certainly appreciates you coming and sharing your deep-hearted concern. And I think everybody up here would join with you if, in fact, there was a way to show that there was some meetings with some folks. But I didn't attend any of those meetings. As a matter of fact, just to put a little emphasis on my comment, there was a meeting up in Trenton that, when Mr. Cipriano was president, that we were going to attend with the city. Because Mr. Cipriano insisted that there be more than one person representing the board go there, the the meeting never took place, to our knowledge.
And my understanding is, through some paperwork I have, that there was even a suggestion that one of the city councilmen take place for one of the managers that would not attend.
Well, I would urge you, if you have that, let's see what we
Well,
can find out.
I just wanted to get this elephant out of the room. I'm glad it's out of the room.
No, me too.
Unfortunately, Mr. President,
Vice President. I'm just running the meeting in the President's absence.
I don't know if it's chairman, president, vice chair. With all due respect, unfortunately, some of these questions that you have asked, Mr. Abate, and some of the questions that you fellows have asked also about, we haven't been to those meetings. You're absolutely right that the city was involved in many of those meetings. Unfortunately, there are quite a few documents that also show your missing attorney here as having guided these people all through the process. And all through the process. And at the same time, the same attorney is billing Woolman for whatever he's doing on behalf of the board, on behalf of Woolman. He's actually, with every one of these entities mentioned, bringing this corporation through the process. And with all due respect, the one thing I understand, with all due respect, what I do understand is they showed you the money. I understand that. But I don't understand what went on behind this particular company's back. And guess what? I feel that I'm doing us all a favor here, bringing this elephant out right now, because a lot of this information would not come out except for disclosure. And if it gets to disclosure, that information will come out. And frankly, sirs, it goes beyond our local legal system here, because we're dealing with federal laws, we're dealing with state laws, we're dealing with the bid process, due process, and we're also dealing with some state officials that may, and this is me speaking, not Woolman, we are dealing with some state officials that may or may not have been influenced by your attorney, as he was charged with bringing these people through this process. Now, that's a totally different set of paperwork, gentlemen, that I am not prepared to bring in front of the public without an attorney.
I think we should just stop this right here, because first off, Ron's not here to defend
I'm not
himself.
talking about Ron.
And I'm not sure even what he's talking about.
But you see, I am an elephant, and I want to make sure that people know I don't have a trunk and I don't like peanuts. And this man has said I'm an elephant and I'm responsible for this.
I did not call you an elephant, sir. I said there was an elephant in the room.
The elephant out of the room, that's me.
I'm being very respectful,
Mr.
sir.
Sunstein came after the elephant noise, okay? So I am assuming that you think I'm the elephant, but even if you don't,
No, sir.
even if you don't, I don't believe that you should single me out for something that I didn't do. I brought Fidelis to this board, and he came to me from Haynes and Haynes, because that's where Fidelis went first, because they were looking to buy the U.S. Pike property. And I brought it right to the board. As to any state, federal, any laws that you want to do, I'd be very interested in seeing that paperwork. If you could bring it together, put it together, and offer it to this board, I'd be just tickled pink.
No, you wouldn't.
But yes, I would.
Sonny, let me say this, please. Mr. Sunstein,
I'm not here to have a
I am not
conversation.
pointing at you. This elephant just has to do with
This
Fidelis.
conversation is over. It's over.
All right.
If I can, you bring a very interesting issue to the board. And I think...
It's an accusation, not an interesting...
No, it's not.
Well, if you'll allow me, it's an issue dealing with how we can move forward and how we can achieve what this board leaves their families and homes and everybody to do. So my suggestion, if the board approves, is to share that information publicly with the board at your earliest convenience, and allow either Mr. Eustavinis, or if there is a pro bono attorney, whoever it might be, to share an opinion with the board so that they could come back with you and perhaps even invite you to sit down and see the results of that review.
What review of what?
He has some information that he is strongly...
Put it before the board then.
Yes, what I'm saying is
Okay.
put it before the board so that it can be reviewed with a legal eye, so that you know exactly, what that is. And you may have to do that with a pro bono attorney because after, you only have so much dollars, to do that with. So, but we're going to talk about that later on tonight. So for myself, this board didn't have any meetings that I know of with that gentleman. But what you have and your heartfelt conditions here, and you come here and you try to share that with us, I think that needs to be looked at, and I think the board's agreeing to do so. But we need legal opinions to look at it, and at the same time invite you back.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Sunstein, I apologize if you took anything personally. The elephant that I meant was Fidelis,
I
not...
don't take anything personally.
not
sir.
Mr.
All I'm telling
Sunstein.
you is that I was the one that was fingered out and...
No, sir.
Well, that's okay.
No, I understand what you're saying, but...
Then your apology is accepted.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, any other member of the public?
Just before I get done, if you do decide to do this, Joe, and you want me to bring some of this information in front of you, I will not bring it in front of that attorney.
No, would you just mail it to us?
Well, I don't want it being reviewed by that attorney,
Why not?
because he's
You're
a
making
worm.
accusations.
He's a
See,
worm.
that's it, that's enough.
Okay.
You're done talking.
I'm done.
You don't make those kind of statements to a man that's not here to defend himself.
I'm
You're
sorry.
done.
He hasn't been here for weeks, sir.
You're done. Well, because we can't afford to pay him, that's why he's not here.
Because you paid him so much taking Fidelis.
You're
away.
done.
Sit down.
You're done.
All right.
Any other member of the public?
Can I just stand here? Sorry.
We can't do much like that.
Yeah. Is that working?
Scott Crawbon, 424 High Street. As I guess most people know, I'm running for a seat, the 3-year seat, as a write-in for Board of Island Managers. What meetings I can tolerate being here for, and no offense to the board, were difficult to bear, and it was difficult for me to bear with some of you, mainly because it goes into a lot of he said, she said. And it kind of bogs down on what the island's mission is, and kind of confuses things, and it's basically a CF, as they call it, cluster, and the rest. I think the reason I'm running, and the reason I believe Hal James and Don Reinhardt would be good candidates, and of course Nick Caruso, is it's people that have been on the island, and people that have actually done work there and have been stewards there. And you see my flyers, we're proposing a stewardship for the island, which I believe could bring in colleges, universities, and other people to bear. While Hal and Don are very knowledgeable about the wildlife there and the plants, how wonderful would it be for us to have experts in it that could tell us, oh my God, you have one of the last remaining trees, or you have one of the last remaining birds, in this continent. I've actually had scholars out there already. I've taken as many as, at one time, 35 students at a high school level, and they were astounded by what they saw there. And that being said, I believe that we could work with the board as stewards to have more knowledgeable people come in and give us their resources, their money, toward our school children and toward getting a flat-bottom boat or whatever kind of boat the board should propose, and get people out there to see this island, this environmental sphere, if you will. I've been out there in 30-knot winds in the river, and I've been on that island, and you can't even feel a breeze. And so there must be something going on out there that we haven't tapped into for the last 300 years. We talk about resources. We talk about wasting resources all the time. The Chinese, the Saudis, everybody controls all the resources, and yet we have one of the greatest resources on the planet, and it's Burlington Island. And I would submit to you, the folks that I have had out there said that they thought that some species, one gentleman who's in his 70s, who's a internationally known scientist, said that he thought he saw 2 extinct species of birds out there. He was astounded. He said, I believe that that bird is extinct. So you have this inner core of Mother Nature, which we can tap into and show off to the world, and I believe that you would have businesses thrive, you would have the streets lined up, you would have the inns full, you would need more inns, you would need more restaurants to tap into the people that would come to see this marvel, this resource, Burlington Island, and I do appreciate all the hard work you do, and I do know that each and every one of you are very passionate about it, and I would be more than willing to work with anyone who's on the board when it comes time that we can include others that probably know more than we do about the resources and the nature on that island and not the dredging. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Any other member of the public? Okay, just before I close the public portion, I'd like to apologize to the audience for that last little tirade. As the chair of this meeting, I should have never allowed that to get that far as it went. In an effort to allow people the opportunity to speak, I allowed him to speak too long. Not quite sure what he was talking about, but we'll find out what he was talking about. It's unfortunate that the members of the public, and that's going to be on YouTube, and people have to hear that. That's what gives this board a negative image. I believe that was totally uncalled for, and I apologize for allowing it. Public portion is now closed. Community service, Joe, that would be you.
Yes,
Report on community service.
Thank you. As you know, Mr. President, I have not decided to run in that I have not filed papers, et cetera, to continue on the board. And what I've tried for months is to try to get what I know transferred to some other managers, and one of those issues is community service. And Mr. Sunstein was very kind at the last meeting, and he says, Joe, you know so much about it, even after you leave, maybe you should run it. So if in fact nobody is going to take that over, and I had the ability to continue as a volunteer, I think it would be appropriate that I had a resolution from the board authorizing me to communicate with probation department, community service. You know, technically after the reorganization, what have you, I don't have any authority to speak.
Well, you may win, you're running for a 1-year seat.
Well, that's another thing. So,
Would you want to do that now, or would you want to wait until after the election?
well, I think it's good to have it on the radar, you know,
I'll make
either
that
way.
resolution. If Mr. Abate would so choose, and is not a member of this board after the election, that he still head the committee on community services, it would be a good thing for the board.
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded that after Manager Bates' term on this board, that he continue on as a volunteer and head the community service program. On the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No opposed. All right, thank you, Joe.
Thank you. The other issue, real quickly, I don't know whether I should put it under old business or new business or wait, whatever you decide to do, and that was the request I had for a pro bono attorney discussion.
Yeah, let's wait on that till we get to it. I guess we can do it under old.
Under old? Okay.
Sustainability plan.
Why don't we push that back and go to the candidates and the other stuff, and we can bring.
Why you want to move to sustainability?
Yeah, put that down.
So you want to go to the election update?
Yeah,
Election
if
update.
the board, I'm not here.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. If it's gonna take time, we'll go to the easier stuff first. Election update.
It's all on track for Monday. All the notices have been in, hung up, called.
And if you could, when the election is done, I just need that book back, and
Oh, absolutely.
if you wanna make a similar one, or if you wanna just put a separator in there and then put your stuff in the next section, that would be fine.
Okay, great.
And I'll just
Okay.
relabel the front, but that has to stay with the records.
So we're all set. All right, now I'm gonna read something, and I think this may answer Mike and Jamie's question into the record. I want this a matter of the record. This comes from the county. Candidate challengers. The following procedures for candidate challengers has been provided by the Burlington County Board of Elections. Any properly registered candidate may be on hand to challenge voters at the polls. People intending to run as write-ins may not participate. Challengers may sit in the polling room. Challengers may observe. They may not make any comments about the election. If a member of the public addresses the candidate challenger, he or she may say hello. There is to be no further conversation. If a candidate challenger wishes to contest a voter's right to place a ballot, he may not speak to the voter. He must fill out a form provided for that purpose and then turn it over and speak to one of the poll workers. The poll workers shall then decide the matter by voting among themselves. The result shall decide the matter. If the challenger disagrees with the outcome, he may seek relief through the courts after the election. The only matter that may be challenged is an attempt by a person who does not reside in the city of Burlington to cast a ballot. No candidate challenger may dispute any action taken, instruction given, or decision made by any poll worker. If he is dissatisfied with the procedures following during voting hours, he may pursue the matter in the courts. Under no circumstances is the challenger to disrupt the voting process or keep the poll workers from performing their tasks. And to my knowledge, Mary gave this to me. This comes directly from the Burlington County Board of Elections. Does every manager understand it? And are there any questions?
Yeah, Mr. President, if you remember at the last meeting, I think it's still on YouTube for those who want to look at it. I had asked the question, could a candidate be there at the polling place?
Correct.
And the answer was a resounding no. And rather than have a debate on the issue at that time, I decided to do some homework on it and reached out to the County Board of Elections. Because, you know, sometimes you think you know something and it's really not exactly what you thought that it was. So what they clearly say here in the challengers is, what is a challenger? The answer is a person who is appointed by a candidate, political party chair, Democrat or Republican, or proponent or opponent of a public referendum. A candidate in the election may also act as a challenger on behalf of him or herself. So that was the issue that came out, and I sent all the managers the chapter and verse, whatever it was, on the law. So if we could just forward this opinion to whoever's running the election,
It's already been done.
to let them know that in fact,
Sheila is aware of it. I gave her a copy of this very.
and to advise anyone who is a candidate, as described here, that has filed for office, that they are permitted to be there, but they must not do any campaigning,
Correct.
any electioneering, and things of that nature.
The only three that are eligible were Jamie, Mike, and myself.
Yes, so that's a little bit different than what was discussed at the last meeting, and this will move forward for future boards, so that they'll be able to see here's how it's done. So you probably want to keep that as part of the record, and I know there's a book on elections, the so-called book. You might want to put that whole copy in there.
Yeah. Yes, that will. I'm sure Mary Ann will.
Here's something a little more in-depth than that. That is the state regulations regarding that. So you can just put that, all those 2 pages or 2 groups of pages in with that book, and it'll make it easier for the future board.
This comes off the state's website, Joe?
Yeah, they have.
I think you sent it to us by email, didn't you?
I sent it by email. I called the county. They directed me how to drill down and define this, and then I just hit. There you go.
Mr. President, may I hand this to Zalos? This is a copy of that resolution.
Sure.
I think you guys should have a copy.
That's not a
Thank you.
resolution. That's
I
just
know.
that one comes right from the county.
Thank you.
Here, Mary. Is that that?
Thanks.
Okay. Anything else on the election? Old business. We're going to leave expired negotiations. Maybe Mary will get here before we get into that. Old business. Anyone have anything under old business?
Under old business, Mr. President, you indicated we could discuss the pro bono attorney.
Well, I didn't indicate we could. it's not on the agenda and I wasn't aware of it. So I don't know why Mary didn't put it on the agenda. Maybe she thought there would be a lot of stuff, I'm not sure, but
Well,
if you could keep it brief.
President, may I interject for a second? Joe, are we going to just rehash something you've said before? We know,
Probably.
we understand
You know,
the pro
it's-
bono versus our...
It's my, I would say yes to your question, and the rehashing is that I've asked for a number of meetings to recognize, which everybody here does, that our funds are dwindling. And just tonight, you've got a situation where you need legal advice. The next meeting, and a meeting after that, you might need it. Where do you get it from? If you look at your balance of $2181, and you take out $900 for the future treasurer, you got $1,281 left. So you're going to have vision to make some changes, and when you make these changes, you have questions, who do you turn to?
Well, if I may stop you there for a minute. If we're talking about business situations and money, that's a closed session thing. It's not a public situation. You're talking about our funds, you're talking about a paid attorney, you're talking about getting rid of a paid attorney and having a pro bono attorney.
Yes.
That's all business related, which is a
It's
closed
personnel matters, but
If I may-
he's just basically bringing up pro bono, and he's been on that.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Sunstein, if you remember, the board had asked President Worth to contact our attorney and ask him if he had any interest in being, out of respect, a pro bono attorney, since we don't have the money. She refused to make that call.
She said she didn't
Well,
feel
she's not here
comfortable,
to
maybe,
defend that either.
she said she didn't feel comfortable making that call,
She's not
maybe,
here to defend herself either.
yeah, so maybe we should just.
You can't
There's
fix
no
something.
doubt that eventually we're gonna need a pro bono attorney, there's not a doubt.
Something's got to give,
Yeah,
no argument.
there's not a doubt this board's gonna need either Rondak pro bono, or we're gonna have to get a pro bono until we get some funds. I mean, there's not a doubt, Manager Cipriano.
If I may, Mr. Vice President, regarding the balance on our treasury and the best use of our funds, I remember in the time I served as president, we were going to buy and was approved a pontoon boat, and there was a big part of me that really wanted to buy that pontoon boat, and I kind of wish that we had it more than I wish we didn't have it. But had we purchased that pontoon boat, we'd be in the negative in our treasury. And I really think this is my last meeting. I really think it's incumbent upon the board to consider a couple of things. I beat my chest regarding having unpaid secretaries and treasurers, and I think that's something that we really need to look at really hard at this juncture in our financial condition. Another thing, Mr. Yusevinis consumed, and I don't mean that in a negative term, much of our treasury. If Mr. Yusevinis does not want to serve as a pro bono attorney, the pro bono attorney that we found during the negotiation committee, indicated that he would be happy to do some work for the board, and I just think that we really need to investigate whatever avenue that's necessary for us to conserve these funds right now. And two ways. Number one is the attorney costs and secretary treasurer stipend.
The secretary hasn't been paid for years.
Okay, I just lumped them together.
Right, yeah, so it's just the treasurer's position, which is elected, so I don't know how that would work.
All right, thank you.
But the secretary's position is appointed, and the secretary hasn't taken a stipend, to my knowledge, ever.
I never have, and I've been doing it a year and a half.
Yeah,
I even
and
pay
she's
out of
here
my
for another
pocket.
2, so maybe we can get another 2 out of it anyway.
It was a statement in general on how to conserve funds.
Joe, I think that is something we'll have to check into. I know Mary did feel uncomfortable asking Ron that, but maybe she's gonna have to go beyond that and just ask. No doesn't cost anything. If he says no, or yes, either way, I mean, it doesn't cost anything, so maybe we'll have to try and do that quickly. Any other old business? Mary?
No.
Anyone else have any old business?
Under old business, the board has tried for years to try to acquire the turnaround basin,
Correct.
and property is for sale, I believe.
The turnaround basin
No,
or the US pipe?
The U.S. pipe is for sale. It could possibly play a good part in the island. And obviously, I don't have any documents here, but, you know, Burlington is famous for who said and they said and what have you. But someone said that it's possible that that was offered to the Board of Island Managers in the past, and it fell through the cracks.
Never been offered to, we had Ron send letters once a year for 5 years.
So this is something that, you know, not just proprietary to Burlington. But
Get us a contact and we'll contact them. If you got a way of getting a contact, you know what I mean?
It's like fishing. The guy says, you go over there, there's where the big ones are, you know.
It's funny how these things take place and we turn things down and everybody knows about it but the board. I know, we may have a lot of disagreements, but if Fidelis offered us $1 million, I guarantee it, every vote would have been yes. A loud yes.
We definitely need to look at that in the future, you folks do. So that would be something, you know, an attorney could send another letter out to see if that interest is still there.
I don't even know if we need an attorney, we could send it ourselves, really.
Could send it.
All we need is a contact.
Mr. Vice President, if I may, I recall clearly Mr. Yusefinis having discussions with the U.S. Pipe attorney and one other gentleman in the U.S. Pipe, and also tendering at least 2 written communications to them on our behalf regarding the turnaround basin, and they really didn't come to any resolution, if my memory serves me correctly.
They said that it was an option, but they hadn't decided.
And one of those letters would probably give you the point where to go, who to talk to.
Yeah, we probably could go back into those files.
I'm sure Ron has it.
We could go back into those files and find out exactly who he contacted.
If I may speak to that real quick, Mr. Vice President, when I relinquished the president's box to President Worth,
Right.
in the thumb drive that I provided with that, there were certain headings, certain folders. In one of the folders are the copies of the letters that Ron received back and forth from U.S. Pipe regarding the turnaround
So it would
basin.
be on the thumb drive
Yes.
itself.
Yes.
Anything else under old business? Does any manager have any new business?
If not, we could take a 10-minute break.
Well, I want to do the sustainability plan first. Or you think that's going to go, or you think that's going to go on and on?
I'd like to try to hang on for Mary to get here.
Yeah, I really would too, but Mary didn't start till 7:30, so.
She may take an hour, I'd give another 10, 15 minutes if she shows up. It's up to you, Mr. President.
No new business. Let's go to comments about the sustainability program. Mary put this on here, and I believe she asked all the managers to look over the template that Joe distributed at last month's meeting and then offer comments on it. Do any managers have any comments on that? I know I haven't had a chance to look at it. I was away in Italy. I got back. Became sick as soon as I hit Philly. I caught cold. Polluted air. So I really haven't had a chance to look at that. I do have it here. I think Mary gave me a copy.
From the bottom of my heart, a trip to Italy is a good excuse.
Yeah. Nobody has a
Why
problem
not
with that
Israel?
excuse.
That would qualify as well. If I can, Mr. President, with just a brief history on the, does everyone have theirs? I got a couple extras if you need them. Okay. Basically, I think everyone up here heard the words of the citizens coming forward, whether it was Jamie or Mike or somebody else. The guys are running out of money. You know, what can you do? So I had asked the president for a while something called a sustainability program, and she asked me to try to put something together, which I did. There was no rocket scientist stuff to this, so I can't take a great amount of intellectual skills that did this. You just go onto the computer and you You type it in, and next thing you know, you get 100 different programs. And this one that I chose to share has some very interesting points to it in that it kind of walks you through a timeline. And this particular timeline, I think, is for 3 years. And as you go over the methodology involved, you first have to develop a mission and a vision, and then look for some support. How do you get that? You have to talk to community members and try to get them involved. Then you have to identify who are those community leaders and have an informal talk with them. You have to solicit ideas from perhaps schools or other agencies. Mr. Colburn talked about earlier trying to get professionals involved. That might be the individuals that you could reach out to. I know a year or so ago there was a Earth Day request from a teacher in Burlington Township to go out to the island to see if they can do that. So there's a wealth of agencies and people that would get involved, I believe. As a matter of fact, that committee I sit on for the CAC over in Bristol, they had a young lady on that committee that said even Bristol, Pennsylvania has high school seniors would be very interested in coming on board and trying to help us on the island. So you're reaching out basically for partners and individuals who are stakeholders in helping you move your mission forward. So before you tell these stakeholders and try to get them into the program, you have to develop the program as to where you're going to be in different stages. I'm making this kind of brief because I did, kind of look this over. So once you have a mission and you create the excitement, you try to look in your community, whether they're members of the faith or members, elected officials, whoever they might be, businesses, and you solicit their input, and you have some meetings, and you try to find out what do they like, what they not like, and it's a process. But and also in this report, it shows how you can actually get some funds, and you can bring in dollars to help you sustain the board. There were grant opportunities or something about being a 501c3 that will provide you with some funding. There's a wealth of information there. In one of the emails from President Wersch, he thought perhaps a committee, might be good to try to work on this because this is absolutely too much for one person, for any two people.
No doubt.
It's probably very similar to the grant applications that you try to get into. They're deep, and you need to commit the time. So I don't know what the future board is going to do, but if you can use this as a footprint or a blueprint, if you will, to try to pick and poke and see what you like and what you don't like, and get started on it. I would urge you, based on the economics, to give this a priority. Even the candidates running for office, they talk about some extinct bird or whatever they might be over there. So maybe there's people that'll go over there for a guided tour and pay you $10 to see the tour or to see this bird with its whatever that it has. I don't know. There's a prime example in the audience, a person that loves the island, wants to get involved, and you take the board and you make that part of the plan so that you can, I don't mean to diminish his love for nature, but make some money as well. And there sounds like there's folks out there that could help you with that mission. So I would just urge you to, when you have your reorganization or whatever, and prior to that, even taking the time yourselves to look this over so you're prepared. I know, Mary, you and Tony are not candidates, so you certainly can take a leadership role, I guess, in trying to bring the individuals who are new coming on board to move on this. I'm sorry for being so long-winded. I promised I wouldn't be long-winded.
That wasn't long.
Well,
Does any manager have a comment or anything bad? Manager Cipriano?
If I may, Mr. Vice President, I took some time to look through this sustainability plan. excuse me, on page 35, there's a key word, right right above the first dot point. It's called stakeholder. I used to roll my eyes at a communication meeting when we talked about stakeholders and brown belts and things of that nature, because I'm an old school guy. But it bears a little bit of discussion, and it's something really that I mentioned a number of times previously. What we need to do, and I'll say we, me, but what we need to do on the board is have someone to be a stakeholder, to take charge of a particular topic or item, be it grants or a committee chairperson, and be responsible and be driven and be motivated to make situation X occur. Should that be fundraising, meeting with a proposed developer, some kind of meeting with the public to get some kind of ideas flowing until we get some result happening at the end. The stakeholder takes charge and really makes it happen, and we need those stakeholders on the board.
But real quickly, it's funny, on that same page where it says stakeholders, to the very left, it says, hope the people in the back can hear me, it says, be a good steward. So there's also a direction, there to do things. Now, if I may, when we had the pro bono attorney, it came from RSVP from Burlington County, and that's a retired service volunteer people. They also have individuals that could do these kinds of things. When I had spoken last, when he had the lease committee going, he indicated to me that there were people that would be an apprentice. And there are individuals out there in the county. So between now and the next reorganization, given the fuse on the finances, I would suggest someone contact Burlington County for the RSVP program. And I'll bet you'll get people not just to help you with this particular plan, but also assist you with applications for grants.
And you're not talking just lawyers, you're talking other fields, so it's just not strictly attorneys.
What happened, since this attorney came from that group, he knew that there were other professionals and others
In other
volunteers.
fields, just not attorneys.
Right. So they may also be able to fast track.
the contact for that?
I think I gave that to Mary some time ago.
I'll check with Mary.
Probably go through Flatwood.
Well, we should have the contact, because if they have volunteers in other fields other than attorneys, if they're volunteers, we're not taking advantage of
So
it.
probably Google. I wouldn't doubt it.
Okay. Any other manager have comments? Manager Sunstein?
Make a motion, then we take a 10-minute break.
Motion is made and seconded for a 10-minute break. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? 20 after. It's 10 after.